The phone rattles against the cold metal of the nurse's station, its sharp vibration cutting through the mechanical beeps of the ICU. I'm 12 hours into this shift, eyes sandpaper dry, when the notification flashes across the screen. Fraud alert. The number punches the air out of my lungs. $7 $250, unauthorized. My stethoscope slips in my grip. I scroll, and the details line up like blows. 5 airline tickets to Santorini, today. Names I know by heart but wish I didn't. Richard and Lillian Vale, Spencer and Reagan Vale, Megan Tanner Reagan's best friend since college. Mine is the only name missing. Then the worst of it, they used my credit card. Last week, I sat at my parents' polished cherry table, watching Mom fold her linen napkin as neatly as a hospital sheet. Tickets are $1, $450 each. She'd said, voice smooth as glass, if you can't manage that, best to sit this one out. I'd nodded and swallowed the truth. I'd just paid for Spencer's car repair, and my savings were thin. Their dismissal stung, but this was theft. I steady my breathing in the corridor's fluorescent light and unlock my phone with deliberate calm. The tremor in my hands fades as I call the credit card company, freeze the account, and file the dispute. The agent's voice is warm and certain. This is clearly fraud, Ms. Vale. We'll take it from here. Half an hour later, a text lands. Spencer, something's wrong with the tickets. Can you fix it? My spine straightens. Like you said, I stayed behind. I type and slide the phone away. I change every password. Banking, email, Amazon, Apple ID. Every door they might have left cracked open. Where the hallway had felt harsh and humming, it now feels clear. My patients pull me back to what's real. Mr. Jenkins needs his meds. Mrs. Torres wants an update on her husband's surgery. Their needs are honest. Mine, finally, are starting to matter to me. Within an hour, the phone buzz becomes a swarm. Missed calls from Mom, Dad, Spencer, Reagan, voicemails piling up, texts turning from puzzled to angry. Dad's furious. They'll miss their flight. I silence it and tuck it into my locker during a quick lunch. The shaking is gone. In its place, a steady, foreign calm. Call me the difficult daughter, the one who ruined the trip. The ungrateful nurse who doesn't get family. But the truth unfurls, sharp and simple. I haven't been their daughter or sister in years. I've been their safety net, the person who pays when the bill lands. I press my palm to the cool locker door. Not anymore. I whisper and return to work. By the end of my shift, there are 17 missed calls, 9 voicemails, 2 texts. I delete them all without listening. Each tap peels off an old layer of obligation. I drive home in a silence that, for once, belongs to me. 3 days pass. My apartment hums with the fridge's low drone and the occasional car cutting through the night. I've kept my phone on mute and my mind busy. Extra shifts, long showers, early sleep. I tell myself I'll figure out the next step later. Then the bank calls. Ms. Vale. Says Marcus, the fraud specialist I've been working with. Voice careful and kind. Our preliminary review is in. There's something you should know about the Santorini purchase. My knees find the couch. What did you find? The authorized user who made the purchases is Spencer Vale. My breath hitches. That's impossible. I removed him 2 years ago, when he got married. He pauses. According to our records, the authorization was re-enabled 4 months ago via the online portal using your login. The room tilts a few degrees. Not a slip, not a single bad idea. 4 months planning, access, my brother. There's more. Marcus adds gently. We see smaller charges since reactivation. Electronics, restaurants, sporting goods. Nothing huge at once, a pattern. Images flicker. The lease I co-signed for Spencer's first apartment. The emergency loan when Reagan's car died. the 2 expensive birthday gifts I bought because that's what family does. 12 years of just this once, ending here. The total, including the airline tickets, is $9,540 in unauthorized charges. The air cools around me. The part of me that always makes room, that rearranges budget lines, hardens. Thank you, Marcus. I want to pursue this fully. We'll continue the investigation and send you documentation. He says you're doing the right thing. An incoming call flashes, Mom, again. I switch lines, put it on speaker, and walk to the window. Rain beads and races down the glass, turning streetlights into smeared stars. This has gone on long enough. Mom snaps. Your father and I have called for days. I've been busy, I say, watching the rain thicken. Too busy for your family. Spencer and Reagan are devastated about their trip. Their trip on my card, I answer. Dad slides in, voice sanded down to reasonable. Honey, it's a misunderstanding. Is that what we call fraud now? I ask. You're overreacting. Dad says, these things happen in families. A theft happens in families. A Spencer barrels in next. Sis, I meant to ask. Things got hectic. Hectic enough to steal $9,000. My voice is steady. It surprises me. Reagan's tears arrive on cue. You're ruining everything because you're jealous. You always make it about you when we're happy. I press my forehead to the glass. Mom, how long have you known he was using my card? Silence stretches thin. Then he mentioned borrowing it for some small things. We assumed you knew. You assumed. Mom's voice flares to righteous. After everything we've done for you, your father's retirement party is next month. How will this look? Like actions have consequences. I say, Dad tries the oldest tool in the drawer. Remember who signed your nursing school loans. This family has always supported you. The threat isn't subtle. I see the next moves as clearly as a chart note. The calls to my supervisor, the whispers to the board, the concerned cousins. I open my email. Marcus has already sent the case file. I cut the call. I read the confirmation. Investigation opened. Charges to be reversed pending outcome. Peace lands, small and solid. What do you do when the people who should protect you become the ones you need to protect yourself from? 2 days later, my supervisor slides a printed email across her desk. The fluorescent lights carve tired shadows beneath her eyes. Your mother called. Director Palmer says, tapping the paper with a French tip nail. She's worried about your mental health. The words sting. I keep my face still. My mental health is fine. She mentioned mood swings. Palmer continues carefully. Overwork. Said you've been erratic. I work my scheduled hours. I reply evenly, plus occasional overtime. My evaluations are excellent. They are. She admits, pen hovering over my file, which is why this is concerning. I walk out with exceeds expectations, signed across every line, and hands trembling with anger. When I power my phone back on, 3 calls from Aunt Judith, 1 from Cousin Melissa, a text from Dad's golf buddy checking in, and Spencer's social posts climbing with sympathy. Some family ties are chains. Toxic people never admit they're the problem. Reagan's wet. Cheek selfie racks up comments like beads on a string. They're fortifying a castle of fabricated concern, and it's working. I go home and open my accounts. The emergency fund I've guarded since nursing school is thinner by nearly $4,000. Linked accounts, auto, transfers I never set. My heart kicks hard. For 3 years I've temporarily covered Spencer's car insurance. Last Christmas I paid Mom's surgery copay when Dad was short. Reagan's grad school fees. The mental calculator begins its midnight loop. $9,540 and counting. Instead of trying to outpace the anxiety, I sit down and face it. I start a ledger. Every check, every Venmo with a cheerful emoji, every charge that wasn't mine. I request 2 years of statements with a bank rep who gives me a quiet, knowing look. He's seen this pattern before. Each night, I add a voice memo, dated and clear. April 12th. Spencer said his checking was frozen. I covered $600 rent. May 29. Mom called me obsessive when I asked about unpaid loans. July 8. Dad claimed he didn't know about the card, though he stood at the airport when it declined. The record keeps my thoughts orderly when their narrative tries to drown me. The next week, a paper cup appears on the nurse's station. My name in black marker, steam curling from the lid. Doctor. Stevens nods from across the hall, silver hair catching the light. Beneath the cup is a note. Whatever you're walking through, you're carrying it with grace. Some family trees need pruning to stay healthy. The kindness nearly undoes me. I tuck it into my pocket and wear it like armor. That evening, a knock tightens my stomach. Through the peephole, Dad, lines deeper, eyes tired. Your mother sent me to reason with you. He says, stepping inside as if he always belongs. This is getting out of hand. It got out of hand when you watched Spencer steal from me. He exhales, sets his keys on my counter. I know he made a mistake. A mistake is accidental. He used my card for months. He's offering to pay back half. Dad says, like proposing mercy, we can smooth this over before your mother's birthday. I laugh, and it sounds like an empty glass. Half of what was stolen. He's family, Corinne. So am I say, and feel the words settle into the room. I'm not angry you need help. I'm angry you took without asking. Something shifts in his face, sir. Pries at my spine. We didn't. You did. All of you. For years. Family. He says again, as if the word itself should absolve anything. Family asks. Family respects boundaries. Family doesn't drain someone's emergency fund and then call her boss to question her sanity. He leaves without the reunion he came for. I slide the deadbolt. It sounds like freedom. Morning brings a ping from an unexpected number. Elise, Spencer's ex-wife, saw his posts. He did the same to me. I saved everything. If you need proof, I've got it. By midday, Dr. Stevens catches me between rooms. We're short next weekend. Overnight doubles. Comes with premium pay. No pity, no prying. Just a practical offer and an open door. The contrast with my family's constant extraction is almost dizzying. That night I open a blank spreadsheet. Line by line I enter it all. Loans dressed up as help. Gifts I couldn't afford. Transfers that somehow became my responsibility. Dates, amounts, reasons. When I total it, the figure on the screen is a clean, unblinking truth. $9,540. An email slides in from Aunt Judith. Need to discuss some inconsistencies in the family trust accounts. Call when you can. My finger hovers over share on the spreadsheet. One click, and the myth of my overreaction dissolves into numbers that don't lie. For the first time in years, I feel something steadier than anger leverage. By sunrise, the invoice is ready, formatted like a professional claim. Dates, descriptions, totals, and a clear statement. Effective June 1, I will not provide further financial support. Repayment due within 45 business days. I attach the PDF and send it to 5 recipients. Mom, Dad, Spencer, Reagan, and Aunt Martha, the trust's unofficial gatekeeper, before I can talk myself out of it. The phone starts ringing almost immediately. I let it. Instead, I forward Elise's documentation to Aunt Martha. Screenshots, bank statements, texts that trace manipulation like a map. A reply from Aunt Martha arrives while I'm tossing a weekend bag into my trunk. I've noticed irregular trust withdrawals from Spencer. Your documentation clarifies a great deal. Let's speak when you're back. Back. From where? From anywhere but here. I book a quiet B&B in Asheville, drop my phone into airplane mode, and drive toward trees that don't ask me for anything. By Monday, the fallout has a life of its own. Dr. Stevens slides a coffee my way, brows lifted. Your brother's telling people you faked the records. Of course he is. It didn't stick. Elise posted more proof in the family chat. His voice turns wry. A cousin called looking for you. Said she always wondered where his money came from. 8 frantic voicemails blink at me when I finally power my phone on. Mom's greatest hits compilation. Cruel, ungrateful, vindictive. 5 separate relatives write privately to say about time. Uncle David's text lands last. Your grandfather would be proud. Then Dr. Stevens adds, almost gently, the bank called Spencer to discuss potential fraud patterns. I don't feel triumphant. I feel the hollow ache of a house built on borrowed beams finally groaning under its own weight. That night, while I book a lakeside cabin for the next weekend, a question hums under the logistics. Is collecting what I'm owed enough, or is the real bill due in distance? Allies arrive like steady footsteps on a creaking floor. Elise meets me for coffee, sliding a folder across the table, withdraws the day before he asked you for loans. Over and over, her voice is soft, not apologizing for the truth. Aunt Martha calls next, clipped and focused. I've frozen Spencer's access to certain accounts pending review. This isn't just about you, Corinne. The trust has fiduciary duties. Then HR from Dad's former firm reaches out. We're auditing historical expense reports filed by Emery Vale. Your recent concerns provide useful context. Would you answer a few questions? I stick to facts. No defense. No vengeance. Just sunlight where there's been shadow. Reagan's social campaign escalates by Thursday. First, vague posts about betrayal. Then, tearful videos about hardship and maybe canceling Maui. By Saturday, it's a full-blown narrative of their suffering. The comments multiply. I mute the noise. Dad loses his consulting privileges after the firm completes its review. I hear it from Uncle David, whose sigh carries years of disappointment. My phone buzzes with messages I never expected. Cousin Caroline, I'm sorry. I should have seen it. Uncle Robert, your grandmother would be horrified. Aunt Susan, we should have stepped in long ago. Finally, a text from Mom, brief after weeks of theatrics. We need to resolve this. Family dinner, Sunday at 5, will cook, resolve, as if this were a stubborn stain to pretreat. I stare at the screen and feel something I haven't felt with them in years, freedom to choose. On Sunday, I park across from the house, sunlight pooling on the hood. I review my notes like I'm prepping a critical handoff. Dates precise, totals verified, each transfer matched to a receipt. Mom texts, we're ready whenever you are, so am I. Inside, the stage is set for normal. Lemon polish in the air, tulips in the vase I bought her, Dad's glasses folded on the table. Spencer and Reagan sit too straight, hair tamed, makeup softened. Optics. Thank you for coming, Mom says, seating me across from a united front. We've been so worried. Dad clears his throat. We think there's been a misunderstanding. Spencer leans in, earnestness borrowed like a tie. We'll cover part of the ticket cost if you drop the investigation. Mom nods quickly. It's best for moving forward. As a family, Dad adds, eyes sliding away from mine. I let silence expand until the furniture creaks. Then I set my messenger bag down and draw out a leather portfolio, the one Dad gifted me at graduation. I open it and lay pages across the coffee table, statements, transfers, time-stamped texts, each page a rung on the ladder they climbed out of my bank account. This is 8 years of financial misuse. I say evenly, Spencer's repairs, Reagan's boutique debt, last year's property tax, Dad. Their eyes follow the paper trail and find themselves. I found a new apartment. I add. You don't have keys. Spencer's jaw tightens. I refinanced my nursing loans without your co-signatures. I tell Dad, finalized yesterday. Mom pales. You can't afford that rate on your own. I can, and I do. This isn't about money. I continue, surprised by my calm. It's about respect, boundaries. I've been valuable to you only when I was useful. Dad's face shifts. A quiet confession slips out. We've taken advantage of your reliability. Mom shoots him a sharp look, but he doesn't take it back. I pull my old house keys from my pocket, the metal cool against my palm, and set them on the entry table with a soft click. What are you doing? Mom demands, standing, setting boundaries. After everything we've done for you, she trembles. Dance lessons, applications, that's the problem. I say gently, you've treated basic parenting like a lifelong debt. Spencer cracks first, eyes reddened, voice frayed. I used your card without permission, not just the tickets, for months. I saved your Amazon autofill. Reagan's veneer slides off. I knew. She whispers. We both did. The card declined at the airport because it was already maxed. I turn to Dad. And you. He nods once, gaze broken. I can't do this anymore. I say, collecting my documents but leaving the keys behind. I deserve better than being your ATM. Will we see you again? Dad asks as I reach the door. That depends. I answer, hand on the knob. Do you want a daughter or a bank account? The door closes on their silence. 3 weeks drift by and news travels the way it always does. In the seams between small talk, Spencer is under review for fraud at his own bank. Mine wasn't the only card he learned too well. Mom and Dad go quiet. On a wet Tuesday, Dad stands at my new door, rain stippling his jacket. I enabled all of it. He says, refusing to step inside, I should have protected you. I'm sorry. I nod. I accept the words. I make no promises. A month later, a certified envelope lands with a thud on my welcome mat. Inside, a check for $9, $540, the exact figure for my invoice. No note, none needed. I set it on the counter and feel a truth settle. Freedom isn't always forgiveness. Sometimes it's simply being seen. 3 months on, sunlight pours through uncovered windows onto walls I chose. Teal and yellow over the old beige. A watercolor landscape I painted last weekend catches the morning light. My phone chimes, and there's no dread in my shoulders anymore. How's the new place? Dr. Stevens texts, attaching a photo of a fern. I send back a shot of my balcony jungle. Beyond the leaves, the skyline glints like a new coin. Tonight, I'll lead a financial wellness session for new nurses. How to protect your money while you care for everyone else. 3 have already asked for one. One's about family boundaries. My easel waits in the corner for the mountain scene. I'll start after the workshop. Time feels spacious again. A group text pings, the first from my family in month, inviting me to the next Vale gathering. I answer, thanks for thinking of me. I have other plans, no apology, no essay. Just a boundary, simple and whole. Those plans include dinner with Jonah. 3rd date. He asked about my family over coffee last week, and the question didn't send my pulse racing. We're taking space, I said. They crossed lines I had to draw. He nodded, no interrogation, just understanding. Love can be patient without being self-erasing. That evening, Elise, Dr. Stevens, and my aunt crowd into my living room for what Elise jokingly calls Financial Independence Day. My aunt sets a wrapped frame on the table. Inside, a calligraphed reminder shimmers over a watercolor wash. You are not responsible for other people's comfort at the cost of your peace. We toast with sparkling cider to boundaries, Doctor. Stevens says, and the people who honor them. The next morning, I walk into the hospital foundation office and place a check $9,540 to the dollar to the donation box, a scholarship for nursing students supporting family. I tell the coordinator. Sometimes the caregivers need care too. Back home, a shadow box hangs above my desk, the cashed check stub beside the old house keys, not trophies, markers, the line I crossed from obligation into ownership. I water the balcony plants while the city warms under a new day. Somewhere in the distance is Telluride, a weekend away that Jonah keeps nudging me to book. The sun edges higher. I ask myself a final question I no longer fear. Is forgiveness required to heal, or is forward motion enough? Out here, with light on my face and my life in my hands, I suspect the answer is mercifully simple. Go on. By the time summer drapes its warmth over Denver, the storm behind me feels like someone else's weather. My days stretch with purpose instead of pressure. Work hums with a steadier rhythm now. Well, our shifts that leave me fulfilled, not drained. My nights belong to quiet things, watercolor skies, cooking for one, long phone calls that end in laughter instead of guilt. The family trust investigation closes quietly. Aunt Martha sends a brief email, review complete, corrective action taken, thank you for your documentation. No details, no drama, just a full stop at the end of a long sentence. Spencer's name no longer appears on any account associated with the family. Reagan has gone silent on social media, her public heartbreak replaced with travel photos and vague captions about fresh starts. Even Mom's profile is still for once. Her energy, I suspect, has turned inward. Dad calls on a Sunday afternoon. His voice is cautious, as if stepping onto a bridge he's not sure will hold. I wanted you to know, he says, we've been working with a counselor, your mother too. It takes me a second to answer. That's good, he exhales. We're learning about boundaries, about accountability. It's slow. For the first time, I believe him. I wish we'd listened sooner. He adds softly, so do I say, and mean it. But I don't invite him over, not yet. That night, Jonah texts, still planning that mountain hike this weekend. Absolutely, I reply, smiling. The view ahead is clear, not perfect, not painless, but my own. By the time summer drapes its warmth over Denver, the storm behind me feels like someone else's weather. My days stretch with purpose instead of pressure. Work hums with a steadier rhythm now. Well, our shifts that leave me fulfilled, not drained. My nights belong to quiet things, watercolor skies, cooking for one, long phone calls that end in laughter instead of guilt. The family trust investigation closes quietly. Aunt Martha sends a brief email, review complete, corrective action taken, thank you for your documentation, no details, no drama, just a full stop at the end of a long sentence. Spencer's name no longer appears on any account associated with the family. Reagan has gone silent on social media, her public heartbreak replaced with travel photos and vague captions about fresh starts. Even Mom's profile is still for once. Her energy, I suspect, has turned inward. Dad calls on a Sunday afternoon. His voice is cautious, as if stepping onto a bridge he's not sure will hold. I wanted you to know, he says, we've been working with a counselor, your mother too. It takes me a second to answer. That's good, he exhales. We're learning about boundaries, about accountability. It's slow. For the first time, I believe him. I wish we'd listened sooner. He adds softly, so do I say, and mean it. But I don't invite him over, not yet. That night, Jonah texts, still planning that mountain hike this weekend. Absolutely, I reply, smiling. The The view ahead is clear, not perfect, not painless, but my own. A week later, the hospital foundation sends a photo of the first scholarship recipient, a young nursing student named Elena. She's smiling beside a banner that reads the Vale Compassion Grant. I stare at the picture longer than I mean to. The number that once represented betrayal now funds someone's beginning. Something tight inside me uncoils. When I walk into the ICU that night, I pass the nurse's station where the story began, where my phone buzzed with that first fraud alert months ago. The same metal counter, the same monitors blinking their steady rhythms. Only now, when my phone lights up, it's a message from one of the new nurses. Thank you for that class. My brother keeps asking for money, and I finally said no. I smile, not out of pride, but recognition. The pattern is older than I am, but it doesn't own me anymore. On my break, I sit by the window overlooking the city. Denver glows below, a constellation of small lives in motion. I think of how easy it would have been to fold, to pay the bill, smooth it over, stay the peacekeeper. That used to be my default. But healing, I've learned, isn't about returning to calm. It's about building a peace that can't be stolen. Jonah meets me after my shift, coffee in hand, his scrubs as wrinkled as mine. Ready for sunrise, he asks, always. I say. We drive until the city fades, the mountains swelling against a watercolor sky. For a moment, everything, the hurt, the history, even the anger, feels like part of the same landscape, necessary for the view to exist. Months later, autumn edges the air with gold. My plants crowd the balcony, overgrown and wild, like they've been waiting for permission to take up space. I sit with a sketchbook balanced on my knees, trying to capture the way light filters through leaves. Inside, the framed quote from my aunt gleams faintly in the afternoon sun. You are not responsible for other people's comfort at the cost of your peace. Sometimes I catch myself wondering if my family ever talks about what happened, whether they frame it as betrayal or as the moment I finally stood up. But the wondering no longer hurts. It's just curiosity, detached and soft around the edges. A letter arrives in mid-October. The handwriting is unmistakable. My mother's, inside, just 2 sentences. We're proud of the woman you've become. We're sorry it took us so long to see you clearly. I sit with it for a long time. Not tears this time, just a quiet gratitude that feels like exhaling. That evening, I hang a new canvas beside the old watercolor, the silhouette of a woman standing on a rocky shore, wind in her hair, sea stretching wide and bright before her. I title it Unbound. Later, Jonah knocks with takeout and 2 mugs of tea. We eat on the balcony, the city breathing below us. You know, he says between bites, some storms don't destroy. They just clear the view. I nod, watching the lights flicker across the skyline. Then maybe, I say, this was exactly the storm I needed. When he leaves, I look once more at the cashed check and the keys in their shadow box, the symbols of what I lost and what I reclaimed. I turn off the lights, step onto the balcony, and let the cold air wash over me. For the first time in years, my story feels quiet, complete, and entirely my own. And somewhere deep inside, I know, peace isn't the absence of pain, it's the decision to stop renting space to it.